I'm Jim Collison, and live from the Gallup campus here in Omaha, Nebraska. This is Gallup's Called to Coach, the EP10 edition, recorded on March 25th, 2016. This EP10 edition of Call to Coach is a resource for those Gallup-trained EP10 coaches and educators who want to help others identify and develop their entrepreneurial talents. We have Gallup experts and independent EP10 coaches share tactics, insights, and strategies to help others maximize the talent of individuals and organizations around the world. If you have questions during the webcast, we do have a live chat room available for you right below the main video window there. If you just look down, log in for us if you could. If you choose the guest account, you can just write your name in there, hit submit, and it'll take you in. No need to create an account to get that done. That'll just tell us in the chat room who you are so we can follow up with you, and we will take your questions live. If you're listening to the recorded version, you have questions about custom EP10 solutions for small, medium, or large organizations, even for your colleges and universities, you can contact us. Send us an email, coaching@gallup.com, or use the contact form that's right there on the live page. Don't forget to visit the Gallup Strengths Center. That's just gallupstrengthscenter.com. For all your coaching in EP10 coaching resources and StrengthsFinder training needs. You can also catch this video as well as a whole bunch that we've done, both streaming and downloadable audio for offline listening to past programs as well. Get links to the mobile apps that we have available to keep the top 5 at your fingertips. Everything is on our coaches blog. All the links, coaching.gallup.com. Todd Johnson is our host today. Todd is a senior global channel leader of entrepreneurship and job creation, even though he has the longest title in the world, and he's wearing the wrong color.
Oh, it didn't even last a minute before you got at it.
You
can go 1 minute.
I'm just saying. He works with me here on the Riverfront. Todd, welcome to Call to Coach.
You know, it's great to be here, and welcome to the thousands online and those watching recorded. Obviously, we're super excited today, super excited to have Mr. Mark Pogue. His last name can be pronounced 15 different ways, but how do you prefer it? Is Pogue right?
Pogue is correct, yeah.
Pogue works, okay.
I always say Vogue with a P, and people look at me and they go, you know, that makes sense.
That's
but,
a nice way to remember it.
Otherwise, they destroy it, so unless they're Gaelic.
So. Gaelic, okay. No, we're super excited, and again, the conversation we're going to have today is focused on the incredible things happening at the University of Nebraska. I wear the Blue Jay in fun and jest. We're gonna focus on the Huskers, on the red team today, and what's going on there with the use of this new science. And Mark, I know we talked a little bit about this the other day, but if we could start to flesh out and have a conversation around some of the global initiatives, you know, that we're gonna deploy at Gallup, through Gallup, but with our university partners. If we can spend a little time today talking about that and getting your thoughts, that'd be great. So what's going on? What's happening there in Lincoln? There's a lot of buzz. The world's talking.
Well, you know, we had an opportunity to kind of introduce what we're doing there with the CliftonStrengths Institute in a previous podcast, but now we're in the throes of it, and I think that's you know, it's enough to talk about it, but high activator, you just want to go out and do it, you know, and not talk about it so much. So that's what we've been doing since the fall semester, and the big change, or the big piece that you know, that we're working on now is just kind of the reboot of a class that we have for all incoming business freshmen at the College of Business, which is where the CliftonStrengths Institute resides. And so we started this spring with a pilot of the proposed course that we're going to be doing in the fall with probably about 800 students. And it contained a coaching component. And so in addition to students basically going through an introduction to college and an introduction to the College of Business especially, really kind of getting them acclimatized to being in college and being successful, we included a one-on-one coaching component for every student that was in the class this spring. So we had probably 160, 170 students in the lecture class. I had another 20 students that were online, and so around 180 students that went through the class. And so far, so good. I think we've had a really great response to you know, just the way that the design of the class. The students had two one-on-one coaching sessions with a trained strengths coach. And this wouldn't be a certified coach from Gallup's perspective. It's more of a kind of a certification that we provide just through the institute in order to coach students. We had a huge mix there, even with our coaches. Some were peers of the students, so they might have just been upperclassmen. We had, as well, we had some staff that wanted to participate, wanted to coach some students. We had a couple of faculty that wanted to do that too, just to have an opportunity to see what it was like to take a student through a one-on-one coaching session. And we've gotten, just right now it's anecdotal. We're looking right now at our survey results from our pre and our post from the class. Early indications are that it's working. I think, on a scale of on a 5-point scale, we got a 4.0 on my coach helped me use my strengths to be more successful academically and be more successful in college. And so, I'd love to have it closer to a 4.5, but I'll take a 4.0 at this stage because we're still just kind of working out the kinks. The big challenge that we've had is trying to figure out how to recruit 80 coaches for the fall, because we want to kind of maintain a 10-to-1 ratio so it doesn't just get overwhelming for the coaches that we have there and time-wise, because they're getting paid a little bit, but really it feels more like volunteer work.
So where is the EP10 fitting into all that? How's that?
So in addition to what we've done with the class and really kind of giving them a grounding around StrengthsFinder, we're also building a program, we're calling it the Builder Program, the Clifton Builder Program. And with that, there's going to be 3 different tracks that students can take and apply for and participate in. It's basically it's not a minor. It's 12 hours that they'll take credit-wise. So they'll get a certificate of having participated. It won't be something that will be actually on their transcript, but it will be something they'll be able to put on the resume. And what we've done is we've designed a program where students can focus on one of 3 areas. One of them is the entrepreneur track. So these are students that we believe, one, have high potential to be business starters. So we're using EP10 to take a look at their talent profile, as well as some other ways to select them into that program and help them focus on that one particular area. We also have another area, another track that students can take that's more focused on being somebody that starts something within organizations. You might call them an intrapreneur if you want to. They might be folks that have high management talent, but these are folks that are probably going to be ones that are great team leads within organizations, but also have that component, I think, that entrepreneurial energy to start stuff. So, looking for opportunities to get new initiatives within organizations off the ground. And then the third are those folks that are interested in starting nonprofits. So we're calling them the community builders. And so we have those 3 groups, and we're figuring out how to select those and get that started even with a class this fall.
That is so cool, and I'm just going to flesh a little of that. You and I have talked about this before, but for the group and good of the order, everyone has some degree of entrepreneurial talent. Not everyone becomes an entrepreneur. So this EP10 initiative and all the different work we're doing is really focusing on how to identify and develop your entrepreneurial profile. Entrepreneurship, the starting and growing of businesses, is but one vocation, is but one outlet. I think our current definition is entrepreneurship is the art of creating customer energy where none existed. I mean, quite honestly, you're creating customer energy at the University of Nebraska. I'm creating customer energy, with some new products and services here at Gallup. Entrepreneurial talents and creating customer energy is much broader than, moving to Silicon Valley and eating ramen noodles, right?
Right. Exactly.
So I love what's happening there. You like that one, Jim? I love what's happening there in the at the university. Talk about some of the builders. What kind of talents are you seeing?
We pulled together a focus group of ones that did score pretty high on the EP10, and so they were an interesting bunch. I tell you what, the thing that I think characterized them the most to me was just that, and we know it's part of the EP10 assessment, is that risk-taking piece. They obviously had a lot more talent than just that. I think it's one of those pieces that just fascinates me. Yeah. We had a group in the room, and Sangeeta happened to be there with us. She was one of my guests in my class. That she was one of the people that I was interviewing in my lecture that day, and so she was able to sit in on it as well. She was in Lincoln with us, and the question that she asked this group was, you're standing on a cliff, do you jump off the cliff, or do you do some research to find out what the risks are involved? And one of our students, a Vietnamese student that grew up in Lincoln, but I think he's first generation, in the States, and his parents were from Vietnam. He's like, I'm jumping. And then he goes on to describe this entrepreneurial venture that he's in the middle of, and it's just, I'm stunned. I'm thinking, well, that's not a 10-foot cliff, that's a 50-foot cliff, for somebody that's a sophomore in college. Wow. And what's great about Fat is that he also is interested in developing all kinds of areas of his life in terms of preparing him for the business world. So he's thinking way beyond just, I've got to get a business started, but he's also thinking about further down the road, what does it mean when I manage people? And he was one of the ones that signed up to be one of my strengths coaches. So. And we see a lot of that overlap. We had another gal, Michaela. She was an interesting person as well. She, I think, if I remember correctly, one, she's in the honors program, the CBA honors program. So she's a really smart gal. Just intellectually has a high IQ. And if I define smart in a broader sense, she's got a lot of people talent as well. She had. Just a few years ago, gone down and gotten she was the youngest person to have been licensed as a auctioneer. And so had her own business as an auctioneer, but was also thinking, corporate law. She had all kinds of things that she was thinking about in terms of her future. And once again, she showed up on my list and was coming in for an interview to be a strengths coach. And so I think, it's that desire that they have to have a really well-rounded experience within their college years, and preparing them for so many different facets of the business world once they get out.
Yeah, I mean, I love the diversity of experience and journey. Our friends in Hollywood have kind of put this whole entrepreneurship thing in such a tightly knit little niche, and it's not. Right. Jim, I don't know if you know this, but Mark and I have been working and thinking, and we're having some pretty important meetings about how we use some of the builders from the Institute to actually do some feedback for some of the high school kids across Nebraska. Yeah. So, we've still got a little development work to do, but it could be a real interesting application. And
Todd, don't forget, we've got, we'll have 65 high school kids here on campus this year. We think about our fall on our high school program to kind of work in that area too. We're excited about having them take the EP10 assessment early and beginning to identify some of those with the higher intensities, and then work with you guys to kind of say, what does this mean as we work cross town with the program that's going there at Lincoln. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
I think that's one of the other things that has really pleased me with the effort that we had this spring with the coaches. I mean, it's obviously not perfect. We need to tweak some of the way that we organize the coaching sessions and just some of the mechanics of it. But one of the things that I was really, really happy with was the feedback that we were getting from the coaches. And again, we're collecting more of the data and the information that we're getting from the students, but the coaches had an amazing experience, and all of them, I think with just not even one exception, said this is something I would do again, and it was really, really a beneficial thing for me to have that opportunity to coach these students towards success. So I think that's the other piece, is that it was directed. There was it was very purposeful. This wasn't just getting together to kind of chat it up. Yep. There was a very specific intent around, one, college success, but as well also setting some goals around some of the things we've talked about previously, the Gallup Purdue Index, like how do I get a mentor on campus? So setting goals specifically around cultivating mentors that can help me through my college years. And man, I would have wished that would have been available to me, and it was all, fits and starts for us trying to figure that, that might be a good idea to have people that are wiser than I am informing me about the decisions that I make.
It's such a big point.
What a revolutionary idea.
Yeah, right. I've had this conversation with coaches now kind of literally around the world. It's not about the rank order of the talent. It's about the conversation. This whole thing we're doing is, being intentional, being objective, and being systematic, if you will, about the conversation, the power of the conversation. What do you do well? Who are you? How do you team up? I just see it again and again and again. I think it was Jim Krieger that once said, you're just kind of nudging Mother Nature. You're adding some intentionality to the conversation. The power is in the conversation. It's not the label. I had to debate the other day. Somebody all hung up on the label and the word. So, you're missing the point. The power is the conversation.
Todd, we find in our program with the high schoolers is where they get to build their own software application. That's kind of part of our high school innovation program. I like to think of it as they're on a track and we're just tapping them, we're just tapping them on the sides. Just from time to time and giving them some direction. Obviously, with both StrengthsFinder and EP10, we get a really good read on who these kids are and what their natural talents and abilities are. Then we can begin to focus those pieces, and a lot of them are heading that direction anyways. They just need a little nudging, tapping on this. Yeah, no, it's perfect.
Throwing an elbow, nudging Mother Nature. It's really powerful. So let's spend just a minute thinking about, and Mark, I looked at your leadership here to put real edges on this, but Gallup has a really robust history, as probably everyone knows, of partnering with universities. We're a research company. The rigor of our methodology, of our research, of our science is the very foundation. It's the DNA in this organization. So we've had some incredible experiences around partnering on the topic of positive psychology, on the topic of behavioral economics. We've of course built some really powerful global partnerships around the world poll and what people around the world are thinking. We're just about to launch an initiative. I don't know the name. It might be called the Gallup Entrepreneurial Talent Initiative. Eddie, is that right, Eddie? You got to have an acronym. If you don't have an acronym, you're just not real. So until you have an acronym, go in. But so we're working on the acronym. We're working on the name, and truly it would be a partnership. It would be a consortium of like-minded educational institutions. Colleges, universities, public, private, large, small, rural, urban, U.S., global, focused on bringing the entrepreneurial talent and development and focus and conversation to their students. Study after study, story after story of how employability issues, and there's again probably a new report every day about the workforce not getting what it needs from higher education, and so we're really excited about putting together this partnership. We'd create some, I think, really robust opportunities for research. So going deep into the data, certainly for application and kind of learning from each other on how we're using it. Obviously, incredible things happening at the institute there at the College of Business in Lincoln. There are incredible things. In fact, next month we'll have Mona Olson from Cornell. They're doing some really interesting things at Cornell with EP10, so she's going to come to Call to Coach and share some of that impact. But this is going to be big. This is going to be big, and this is going to be important. We're putting the edges around kind of the benefits and the different things we'll bring to the initiative. We want to create some technology to help introduce the initiative and to help with feedback. So there will be some Adobe Connect activities, certainly researching into pre-post intervention and showing impact in that regard. Mark, again, you and I talked about this the other day. What are your initial thoughts, or what, as someone at the university, what would you think about that collaborative type environment?
Well, I mean, I think it's exciting, just like you described it, Todd. We've had a lot of really energized conversations about this and the potential of it. And I think, I think the big thing is that folks need to know we want partners. We want folks that want to work with us and in developing this, and we don't want it to feel like we've got something pretty shiny and packaged and we're just trying to sell it to you. We really want you to help kind of participate with us in the creation of this, and as many partners as that are interested, I think would be just great. The other thing that, especially from the perspective of higher education and just being a part of that world now, and not coming from that world, obviously, is that again, you emphasized it at the beginning. We want to use this instrument in the most appropriate way possible to develop people. Mm-hmm. And certainly it's not a dream crusher. That's not what we want EP10 to be, and things that we build around that. What we want folks to do is, just like you described before, find where that entrepreneurial energy that they have to create something, to build something, and then figure out the environment that needs to exist in. And so we're looking for partners to do that in all kinds of ways. We certainly want to do it around the area of job creation, because we see that as kind of a mission of our organization, and from Gallup's perspective, it's just crucial, for our country, but as well the globe.
It's wasn't that the results of our world poll? What people want is a good job, and.
Right.
And again, I don't want to go into speech mode here, so Jim, you can cut me off or auto-delete this out on the recorded version. But creating customer energy, I think we three, and probably everybody on the call reads some of the same newspapers. These big companies are getting smaller. They're getting smaller because they're not creating new customers. I mean, so this is a job creation is akin to customer creation, and entrepreneurial talent is akin to creating customer energy. So they're all part and parcel. I feel like I'm on a broken record, but it's not just that high-tech disruptive technology startup that has to go to the coast. Mm-hmm. It can happen within the existing businesses. So every single morning I get this great report that shows who's using it. And within our academic partnerships, it's the law school, it's the veterinary school, it's the dentistry school, it's not always just the business school. Mm-hmm. I know there's some great entrepreneurial talent activities going on over at the Ag School at Lincoln. And
I'll throw a curveball to you too. I've got a really good friend of mine. His daughter is an opera singer. Okay, she's coming out of high school, and she lives in Kansas City, and was a part of a program where somehow she fell in love with opera when she was in middle school. Which, how many kids do that? I don't know. But she's amazing. I listened to her videos on YouTube, and anyway, she was applying at the University of Nebraska, and my pitch to her was, I want you to think about this builder program that we're creating, because it's not restricted to business students. It can be something that anybody from across campus can participate in. And in fact, in her application process with the university, one of the music instructors was telling her, you need to figure out a plan, and it can't be that you're just going to go work for the Met and that's going to be your career, but it's something that you need to piece together. So a business minor is certainly something that you should strongly consider.
Yeah.
And I think about her, and I know enough about her. I actually know what her strengths are, and she would be perfect in that role. I could see her carving out a business and a life singing and doing something that she's incredibly passionate about, but also figuring out how to make a living out of it. Yeah, and I think that's, if we can give that gift to students that have, something that's a one-off, that we just, an outlier that we just aren't considering, in terms of, hey, you could make a living doing that, or you could mix things together with the right knowledge and the right experiences.
So critical, so critical. Yeah, what do they say? Sometimes it's hard to be a broke do-gooder. I mean, there is, and again, not to digress, but social entrepreneurship, there still has to be a financial component to sustainability, whether it's from a donor base or a philanthropic base. You still have customers. So this talent issue cuts so far across. And again, just back to the thinking around our initiative, a big and important piece of it. And Mark, you helped me flesh this out the other day, but getting folks together. Getting, again, like-minded, mission-driven folks together, whether that's electronically, whether we do special webinars for just this group, or whether we come together in person. I've been actually thinking since our last conversation about how critical it is that you and others, your global colleagues that are trying to bring this science to the world, get to share best practice, get to lean on each other, get to learn together. So the community component of this partnership is going to be big. Eventually we'll do a big event in Washington, D.C. and, fly in the president of the world and all that good stuff. But initially we're just going to have as much community and communication around the partners as we can, so people can leverage.
Well, there's enough folks out there that are trying to do things with this right now. They're not waiting for some kind of polished program to show up, and they need those experiences of being able to, mix with each other and find out what best practice looks like. And so those are great thoughts, Todd.
Yeah. Yeah.
Todd, we got a question from the chat room about the goal of the Builder program to be. Is the goal to be a model that can be easily replicated then?
Yeah, exactly. I think anything that we're creating within the CliftonStrengths Institute is something that we want to be able to replicate. So, yes, we would think about it in the terms of a great working model. Yep.
And something else we're trying to do with the builders is we want to test 10 or 20,000 high school kids across Nebraska, and we think some of them might be good at giving feedback. Jim and Mark, some of them might be good at helping us actually drive participation. Mm-hmm. So going out to talk to principals and superintendents and getting kids excited about spending a half an hour on the internet, it could be another neat application for the builders. So kind of a slightly different generation, mm-hmm. but a whole lot different than an old guy like Jim Collison showing up.
Yeah. So an old guy like me, right? Is that what you're saying, Todd?
Something like that.
And I started out with describing the fact that it had some credit hours associated with it, and those would come mostly. We're creating one new course that I'll be teaching hopefully this fall if we get enough students together for that. But in addition to that, we're also trying to create a lot of extracurricular experiences that students would have. So looking for opportunities to plug these students into internships and to experiential learning that they might have in addition to 4-credit courses.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. Are your students putting their top 4 entrepreneurial talents on their resumes?
No. Nope, I haven't done that yet. I haven't gone there yet. And to be honest, Todd, I struggle with that even with StrengthsFinder to a degree. I think we're probably getting to that tipping point where you could present a resume to an employer and have them go, oh, okay, yeah, I know what that is. My challenge, I think I've always thought that it's better. And again, my opinion, I don't want to speak for anybody else out there in terms of how you approach this, but I think it's a great exercise to be able to describe your strengths without ever actually using the words, without ever actually describing activators. So if someone were to ask me, Mark, what are your strengths in a job interview, I'm going to start with, I like to start stuff, and then I'm going to describe it through that. But typically what I want my students to be able to do is to immediately go to a mini narrative of when they've done that. Cool. So I would love for them to say, I love to start something. If we're talking about an EP10 perspective, I've got disruptor in my top 4. So I would always start with, I really like to, mess with things. I love to look for ways to improve something that already exists, or I love to be looking for those opportunities that have never existed before, and then do something out of that. And then I'd want to tell a story about it. When have you done that? Just give me some evidence that you've actually done that in a practical sense.
Cool. Yeah, we're getting there. It's clearly.
Todd, another question from the chat room. Donna had asked, she's fairly new to EP10, and I'll paraphrase this question a little bit, but the tie between EP10 and StrengthsFinder, if I'm a StrengthsFinder coach, and I'm interested in using EP10 in my space, how well should they know this? The person we're coaching, how well should they know StrengthsFinder? Is one dependent on the other? Do you have to have one? I know, Todd, we'll talk about some training, EP10 training at the end of the program here, but talk a little bit about that. What do they need to have, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, think about, in terms of EP10, think about those, and previously it was named the 10 demands of entrepreneurship. Demands, activities. So we call them talents, but they're really activities. I've heard a lot of coaches, obviously much more proficient coaching than I, talk about how they aim the Clifton Strengths Finder at the demands of the entrepreneurial role or the entrepreneurial journey. So the scientists are beginning to start to look at the databases and to look at the correlatives, which is obviously very, very exciting to us, right? Thus far, I think we've only been in the market about 2 years. Most of it's been anecdotal in terms of how coaches are kind of aiming the Clifton Strengths Finder, be it top 5, be it full 34, at the demands of the role. I've heard it described as, Clifton Strengths Finder is so horizontal and applicable to every component of life, whereas EP10 is kind of focused on entrepreneurial output. not just entrepreneurship, we already talked about that, but entrepreneurial activity. So think horizontal, think vertical would be another way to think about those two. Obviously, we want to hear, Mark, what do you think? I mean, that's you're using them both.
Right, and you hit it just where that sweet spot, right where I would have landed too with that last statement. So, yeah, use strengths to inform those demands of that activity. But think about it, think about EP10 in the context of that entrepreneurial, specifically to that entrepreneurial activity that you're involved in, whether it is starting a business from scratch or generating a new idea within an organization, or creating a nonprofit that has to be funded and has to have an organization to support it. So if I'm an entrepreneur or if I am a nonprofit, for instance, I'm in a nonprofit startup. I've still got those business components. I've got those components that have to be addressed, and those demands meet up very nicely. The 10 demands of the EP10 meet up very nicely with that, if we're still allowed to use that language.
We are.
Okay.
I'm pretty hard pressed to find any of our seasoned coaches who aren't using them both together. Maybe not at the same time. So maybe they sequence them in differently, and I've had really compelling cases for which one goes first, and they're both by definition compelling. So it's kind of your own style. Obviously, it's the relationship you have with your coachee, but using them together has certainly what's happening. I don't know if did we get to that question a little bit?
I think so. Let's talk training real quick, though. What do we have available? What's coming up? If folks are interested in, and of course they'd head out to our site, courses.gallup.com. If they're posted out there or time shifted. But Todd, what's the future of our courses that are out there, and what are we offering around this?
We've got training. I don't want to call it a pilot because it's not a pilot. We've been out for a year and a half. We've had about 150 coaches through. And our next 2-day course, it's 2 days in person, I believe is in Omaha, right adjacent to the Strength Summit. So anybody coming in for the Strength Summit, I think that's a Monday, Wednesday, that Thursday and Friday, and I don't know the exact dates, we'll do a CET, we call it CET, Coaching Entrepreneurial Talents, some call it EP10 class. So that is coming up in July. We're going to do one in San Francisco. We've got a developing partnership with a really exciting group in San Francisco where they want to solely focus on the course. So anybody kind of on the West Coast or anybody that likes to go to San Francisco will have that opportunity. Probably also July, August is probably our time frame there. We're going to do a couple customized versions within our university partnerships. So probably won't name them, but we've got a couple universities who have asked us to come on and bring 20 to 25 of their faculty members up. So we're excited about that option.
Todd, if someone wanted, I get this question all the time. What if someone in their local market, they're in Oklahoma City and they want to get their local university? Who do they contact? What's the right way to get into our system so that we can kind of capture that and begin to work that process with them?
In terms of how to get their local university involved?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So within the next 5 to 7 days, I'm going to be very specific. Within the next 5 to 7 days, and I know this is recording, so now I'm held to these dates, we'll have a one-page briefing document on this university partnership. So it'll have some of the nuts and bolts of kind of what it is, what the goals are, what the benefits are. We do executive briefings. Kurt Siebert on our team is available to do an executive briefing or just a Q&A if a university wants to talk about it, wants to learn about it. Eventually we'll have a kind of a more detailed scope document. We'll do a webinar specifically on the initiative. I'll come seek your help, Jim. That's probably a couple weeks away. And so
we'll have some stuff for them available.
Yeah.
If they send us an email like coaching@gallup.com and put some questions in there, we'll have somebody get back to them with those resources. Okay, great.
We will, yeah. But as Mark said perfectly, I mean, it's developing. We're not going to spend 2 years in the laboratory architecting it. We're going to go out and get some of our best partners together and just go to work. So there's a little activator theme in this initiative as well.
Yeah. Mark, you had something to say?
Yeah, I do. I'm kind of stepping out on the ice here just a little bit, but I think we probably need to address it. So if you've gotten very excited about EP10 and you want to take it to your local university, there's some things that I would be prepared for. One is one tool that I think, in addition to this one pager that Todd's describing, is I would go with that methodology report that already exists. It sits on the Gallup Strengths Center site, and I would print that out. I would read it myself, even though it might be a little dry for somebody that's more accustomed to doing as opposed to just thinking about it. But I would really, make myself at least aware of what's in that report, because when you walk onto a college campus and you say, "Hey, I've got this great new thing," immediately they start scratching their chin, and they're going to have some pretty intense questions for you in terms of, well, what is this? How do I know that there's validated research supporting it, et cetera? And so those questions are going to come before them saying, "Oh, great! I'm glad you've got something great and new to share with us." So just be prepared for that. I think that's I totally encourage you. I want you to have those conversations with your campuses and your educators that are there local, and get them excited about it. But I would start with the fact that most college professors lead with learner and input, and provide them with as much information as you can about the instrument in order for them to be able to allow themselves to buy into it.
That's a great point. And and just to reiterate, that methodology report, it's called the technical report. We updated it with the new terminology, EP10, so it no longer says ESF. But that's right up on the website. PDF, drop it, ship it, print it, bind it, put it on your refrigerator, anything. It is a tough read. I got through the whole thing, though, Mark.
You're a smart guy.
Every single word.
You play dumb sometimes, but you're really a very intelligent person. So.
I've never played dumb, so we'll take that offline. But
and Todd, there's actually 4 really good documents out there when we think about it. If you head out to our EP10, so go to gallupstrengthscenter.com/EP10 and scroll down. There's 4. What is EP10? It's a document for you. Why are successful entrepreneurs so important? The methodology report that's out there, and then the EP10 FAQs. There's a lot. I mean, we spent a lot of time getting these FAQs together could help you with this. So download all 4 of those.
Yep.
Take a weekend.
And then move up the website page and go to what others are saying. We put some articles there. A few are old, but a few are kind of seminal. I mean, the work we did with Inc. 500, where we took EP10 into the Inc. 500 leadership, that article's right there. And I still hear about people downloading it and kind of leaving that as a leave behind. Dr. Bottle is working on her next book. She's working hard. I've been instructed to not bring her to meetings where she's not essential and mission critical, so she can stay focused on her book. We're thinking about a fall release. We did get some advice from some of our partners that said there was something going on in November that might be a little distracting, so we might even wait until January. That's kind of still under internal consideration, but there will be a new book. We'll probably call it the 10 Demands of Entrepreneurship. Kind of a crazy title, but it will not be called the Entrepreneurial Strengths Finder.
Another, and I don't want to impinge on Dr. Bottle's time either, but she's been great to respond to very specific questions about it. So if folks are out there and they're having conversations and they've run into a roadblock and somebody has just asked a question that they can't find an answer to, I'd certainly still approach Gallup about finding a specific ansor.
Mark, I've seen her. And especially in the research and the rigor of the methodology, or the all the heavy lifting things behind the scenes that went into this, she can go toe to toe with anybody in the world. I've seen her do it.
Yep, I would agree.
Yeah.
Mark, if folks want to stay up to date with what you're doing at UNL specifically, what's the best way? What can they follow? Are there things? Are we there yet? Or we've got some blogs or some stuff they can follow? Or what's the best way to stay in touch with that stuff?
I'm still waiting for us. We're going to have a platform, and that's going to be through the CliftonStrengths Institute. There'll be, I think it's actually going to be through the Clifton Foundation. There'll be a website that's associated with that, and we'll have some space for the CliftonStrengths Institute and the Strengths Lab there. I I wasn't informed of it, but I did get interviewed for an article, and it's up on, where is that? Gallup Strengths Center just came up, I think, last week. A pretty in-depth article, a Q&A with me around what's going on with it. So that article is available now. And then otherwise, if you need to email me, you've got some questions. We plan on having a presence at the at the conference this summer as well. So I think that's the week of July the 18th,
18th,
like
19th, and 20th. If
There you
you
go.
want to look at if you want to see what the Clifton Strengths Summit is, what we're calling that, you can head out to courses.gallup.com. That's the easiest place. We post all our summits that are available there. Todd, I had a question. Are we going to have EP10 breakouts at the summit?
No, we're going to focus it on the Clifton Strengths Finder.
Okay.
Yep. I did ask about it, and we want to keep it focused, but we will have a class adjacent. And I will be in Omaha, happy to discuss any aspect of EP10 during those days. I'm an early riser, and I'm an older guy, so I go to bed early. But
time to maybe even the Monday before. We're starting at 5 p.m. with a reception here on the campus. The day before might be a good opportunity to arrange some time with Todd to come in if you want to get some of those. Mark, you're going to be around, I assume, for the summit as well. You'll be hanging out with us.
Yep. I hope to have a presence there, and we're still trying to figure out what we're putting on the scheduling in terms of what we'll be talking about. But I'm sure I'll have an opportunity to share what's going on at the institute and with the lab.
Yeah, it'll be a big deal. You will want to be here. If you are thinking about, you want to make your way here, July 18th, 19th, and 20th, lots of things going on. If you're a strengths coach, you especially want to be here. We got some big announcements during those sessions as well, and so you want to be a part of it. Todd, as we kind of bring this in for a landing, any final things you want to cover before we wrap this up?
We used to call this an update, but I think we've kind of hit on a lot of the things. We are still working on our intensity report. It is under development, it is under scrutiny, it is under research, and it's probably going to be a late summery kind of launch. So intensity will be coming back to the EP10 front in discussion. Most of the coaches know what that means. We have a really exciting article coming out in the Gallup Business Journal, which is read by millions of people, focused on the project in Mexico. People have heard me talk about this. Year one, we tested 10,000 kids in the Mexican City high school system. Year two, we did 15,000. This fall, we're planning on 50,000. We identify the extreme high potentials, and we put them in special programming. And we've written an article about it. We've interviewed the mayor, who's our principal sponsor. We would love to see this article travel the world. We'd love to see other economic developers and leaders kind of take a page out of the Mexico City book. It's pretty exciting and sophisticated what's happening down there in terms of finding their builders, finding their empire builders, and putting them in special programming. So please watch for that GBJ article. It's got some good quotes. It's got some good information, and we're going to try to focus on best practice. That would be a case of best practice under the economic development umbrella on maybe a quarterly basis in writing, so that folks have some lead behinds, and we as a business have the chance to share those stories with others. Those would kind of be my big updates and takeaways. I certainly thank Mark Pogue for everything you're doing down there. Again, it's the world's kind of talking about it, as they should be, and it is a work in progress. Probably always will be, right? But you inspire me and a lot of others to what you're doing. So thanks for doing it, and thanks for spending some time with us.
Well, and I would extend that thank you to all those educators that we've been working with over the years that have contributed to a lot of what we're trying to put in play at Nebraska right now. So I'm on the shoulders of giants here, and but thankful that I get the opportunity to actually do it, in a very an intentional sense now. I'm not on the sidelines cheering people on. I actually get to do it, and it has been really fun and energizing, and quite a learning curve.
It's awesome.
It's been fun on this end, Mark, to kind of watch this over the last year kind of come to be. And we were really excited about this as we made that announcement last year, and then school started, and I'm already seeing, I get the opportunity to deal with the kids in Lincoln. I'm already starting to see some of the effects of that, and some of our students, I mentioned getting our high schoolers kind of involved in what you're doing. We're pretty excited. Speaking of that, we're looking at making that the model too. When we think about high school internships, how would that work, and plug them in, and entrepreneurship, and managers, how do we make great, how do we discover and find great managers at the high school, college level? That's important, right? That's another skill set that, according to our numbers, it's not happening here, especially here in the United States. We're excited to see some of that stuff happen. So, Mark, thanks for all that you're doing. We're excited to have you in Lincoln full-time here at some point, and get to see you there. And if individuals want to know what's going on, stay up to date with us, of course, you want to watch Gallup.com. There's a lot of things that we post out there as well. That let me say that again. Let Gallup.com be your friend as far as news and information and those things that are available. With that, I'll remind everyone to take full advantage of all the resources we have at the Gallup Strengths Center. Of course, everything EP10 starts there, so GallupStrengthsCenter.com. Send us your questions or comments. We'd like to have those as well. Send us to an email, coaching@gallup.com. You can also catch the recorded version of these. And we've gone back, and actually, Mark, we've recorded you. We've had you called the coach, and we have some old Strengths Quest ones for folks who are wondering about the Strengths Quest platforms. Those are still out there, very relevant. This stuff doesn't really age. It's the same, right? It's the same good news and the same information a year or two ago that we recorded with you with Strengths Quest that we've done. That's right now. So head out, just Google Strengths Quest Mark Pogue, and you'll get a couple videos where Mark actually walks through the platform, and that platform's still the same. We have not done many changes to it since we recorded it, and there's lots of great resources for colleges and universities to take advantage on the Strengths Quest. And the Strengths Quest is alive and well. I mean, it is doing very well in our ecosystem here, and so if you have some information about that, you can contact us as well. And we have Strengths Quest experts who will help you buy codes or partner with the organizations, figure out. We've got coaches that are doing it, so all kinds of things happening. And then don't forget the Strength Summit's coming up. Again, courses.gallup.com. We'll get that for you as well. Found this helpful, we'd ask that you share it, and we'll look forward to the next Call to Coach. Todd, preview again what's coming up here in the next Call to Coach EP10 edition.
We are going to focus on one of our great partners. Mona Olson from Cornell is going to share some of the really cool and early adopting activities. We've obviously talked with Mark and his early adoption. They're doing some pretty neat things at Cornell. So next month, I believe, on the 22nd, we'll focus Dr. Mona Olson, and she'll share what's cooking at Cornell in Ithaca.
Awesome.
Live from Ithaca.
Another great update, and we'll have these for you just about monthly coming up. So if you're not in the EP10 ecosystem, you will want to be, and follow what we're doing. And with that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.